When my wife and I bought our first house, it was a real fixer-upper, a place with a lot of character, mostly in the form of peeling paint and questionable wiring, and out back there was this old, leaning wooden shed that looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. We figured it was just full of spiders and rotten tools, but after a few weeks, I decided to tackle it, thinking I might turn it into a small workshop. The air inside was thick with dust and the smell of damp wood, and cobwebs hung like old lace from every rafter. I started clearing out rusted shovels, broken flower pots, and empty paint cans until I got to the back corner, where a flimsy workbench was shoved against. Pushing it aside, I noticed the floorboards there looked a little off, newer than the rest, almost like they'd been replaced without much care. My curiosity got the better of me, so I grabbed a crowbar and started prying. The boards came up with a groan, revealing a dark, shallow space underneath, not dirt, but more finished, like a small hidden box. My heart started to beat a little faster. You hear stories about people finding old money or treasures. What I found wasn't treasure, at least not in the way I'd hoped. Tucked into the cavity was a small, dusty metal box, maybe a foot long, plain and old, with a latch that was stiff but not locked. I managed to pop it open, and inside, sitting on a faded, moth-eaten piece of velvet, was a single, tiny, worn baby shoe, the kind with a buckle, and next to it, carefully wrapped in a yellowed handkerchief, was what looked like a small, brittle bone, no bigger than my thumb. It wasn't just arc bone, the shape, the size, the way it was wrapped. It was unmistakably human, tiny and fragile. A cold dread settled over me. A feeling that went beyond the dusty shed or the old house. My hands were shaking as I carefully put the shoe and the wrapped bone back into the box, closed the lid, and stepped out of that shed, calling the police from the relative safety of my porch, my new house suddenly feeling very old and very dark. The questions they asked, the way they looked at me, it was all a blur. But the image of that tiny shoe and the small, carefully placed bone has never left my mind, making every creak in the floorboards sound like a whisper from the past.